For all our modern genius, so many of the ancient solutions still feel amazingly smart. Beautifully simple on the surface, but quietly advanced underneath. In this episode, we're exploring ancient tech, real designs and materials that solved hard problems long before electricity, air conditioning, or CAD. At least, that's what we've been told. Some of these are rock-solid facts from archaeology and engineering. Some are active areas of research with promising evidence. And a few live on the edge of legend. Ideas that might never be fully provable, but still tell us something about how people thought, built, and healed. Let's dive in. Let's begin with one of my favorites that sets the tone for everything else. The Antikythera mechanism, pulled from a shipwreck off Greece. It looks like a lump of corroded bronze until you peer inside. Then it becomes a miniature galaxy of interlocking gears. Scholars call it an ancient analog computer, built more than 2,000 years ago to predict eclipses and track the rhythms of the sun, moon, and planets. This is precision engineering in bronze. Tooth counts that encode astronomical cycles, dials that forecast celestial events, inscriptions that read like a user manual from antiquity. Even if you never touch a lathe or a telescope, the message is plain. This was not a world of primitive minds. It was a world where math, craft, and sky watching met in the human hand. From the heavens, we drop straight into the sea. Roman concrete has been puzzling material scientists for years because so much of it is still here, especially the marine concrete. Our modern Portland cement piers and seawalls corrode and crumble, but Roman harbor works set in brine have endured for centuries. The recipe varies, but one secret shows up again and again: volcanic ash mixed with lime. Over time, the chemistry actually improves the structure. Minerals grow within the pores and cracks, knitting the material together. In plain language, the stuff self-heals. They weren't just lucky, they were observant. They paid attention to what nature does on its own, and they built with it instead of against it. Now, 2,000 years before the thermostat, how do you keep people cool in a desert city? The Persians and their neighbors answered with wind catchers, tall, elegant towers rising from rooftops open to the breeze. The idea is as graceful as it is effective. The tower grabs prevailing winds and channels them down into the house. Sometimes the air is pushed over a pool or a qanat, an underground water channel, so evaporation chills it further. Hot air rises and exits. Cool air flows in. No compressor, no electricity, just geometry, pressure, and the patience to orient a building to the winds. When you walk the old quarters of Yazd and look up at those towers, it's easy to see the skyline as a field of sails, each one catching invisible rivers of air. And you realize the modern city isn't an upgrade. Maybe it's a regression with better branding. Mentioned in passing just now, qanats deserve their own spotlight. Imagine tapping a mountain aquifer and then shepherding that cool water underground for miles beneath a desert plain. A qanat is a gently sloped tunnel, a logic line through stone, with vertical access shafts popping up at intervals like the holes of a flute. The tunnel is covered so the water travels in darkness, protected from sun and evaporation, arriving in town with surprising coolness. In some places, these systems feed cisterns and gardens and baths. In others, they're the quiet backbone of a whole oasis economy. What I admire most is the humility of the system. No showy surface canal, no grand monument, just a hidden artery maintained for generations, serving everyone because water is life. India elevated water into sculpture with the Stepwell. You've probably seen photos of Chand Baori, those mesmerizing stairs marching down into the earth in perfect, vertigo-inducing symmetry. Stepwells store monsoon rains deep below the heat. Their cool stones create a microclimate where people can rest, pray, and gather. They're engineering, yes, but also theater. Descending toward water, level after level, your body cooling as the light dims and the temperature softens. Imagine a city that bakes all afternoon. Then imagine a civic space that literally drops you into relief. That's not just an engineering solution. That's empathy in architecture. Now, let's zoom west to Petra, the rock-cut city of the Nabateans. The famous facade is the postcard, but the waterworks are the miracle. Petra sits in a land of flash floods and droughts, so the Nabateans carved channels into canyon walls, roofed them to block debris, adding settling basins to remove sediment, and spread water where it needed to go. They tamed both extremes, diverted floods away from the heart of the city, and stretched scarce supplies across the dry months. It's hydrology as choreography, performed by a people who listened closely to stone and storm. We remember the grandeur. They survived because of the plumbing. In the Andes, Inca builders shaped cities that ride out earthquakes with uncanny grace. Walk the streets of Cusco and look closely. Giant blocks laid without mortar, edges so tight a blade of grass struggles to slip between. Corners taper, walls lean slightly inward, stones interlock like 3D puzzle pieces, dissipating seismic energy instead of fighting it. We don't have a complete manual for how they accomplished this at scale, but we can read the performance in the survival record. When the ground shakes, the oldest walls flex and settle. The newer colonial additions crumble. Sometimes resilience is the best proof of design. Now, I promised more than climate control and clever masonry. Let's talk resonance. Spaces that seem to be tuned. In Malta, there's a prehistoric complex called Hal Saflieni, and deep inside it, a chamber often called the Oracle Room. Speak or chant there, and the sound blooms into a low, thrumming presence. Many visitors describe the resonance as something you feel in your chest and bones. Is that a designed feature or a remarkable accident of excavation? The honest answer is that historians say they don't know for sure, but there's a compelling pattern here. So many ancient ritual spaces favor stone, curve, and proportion in ways that emphasize voice and instrument. Whether the builders pursued healing frequencies in our modern sense is a separate question. What we can say is that sound changes us. Heart rate, breath, mood, and that certain rooms seem built to hold it. Across the ocean, in Peru, at Chavin de Huantar, sound becomes theater. Archaeologists have mapped a network of stone passages, water channels that can roar like thunder, and evidence of shell trumpets, called patudus, played in ceremonies. Imagine entering a dark, twisting corridor, hearing a horn call that seems to come from inside the walls, feeling the floor vibrate with water rushing beneath your feet. That's a designed experience. Part architecture, part acoustics, part psychology. If you want to create a sense of awe, to open the mind to the sacred or the unknown, you might not need words at all. You would sculpt a journey and let the body do the listening. And then there's a crowd pleaser, the Temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. Clap in front of its staircase and you'll hear an odd, chirping echo that many say resembles the call of the quetzal, a bird revered in Mesoamerica. During the equinox, sunlight casts a serpent-shaped shadow down the balustrade, as if a god is descending. Are we looking at deliberate acoustic and solar design? The equinox display is almost certainly intentional. The chirp is debated among historic circles. Some researchers see it as a side effect of the stair geometry, others argue it's purposeful tuning. Subscribe to True North Trails, where we forge our own path.